Hey, thanks for joining me for another exciting podcast discussion video, whatever you want to call it. But it's definitely going to be a great time where you hopefully will learn something new to help you grow your business. And of course, as I've done recently with Zone of Genius, really to live a better life. So I'm really happy to have you here today. If you want to get to know me better, my name is Ramon Ray, RamonRay.com, and definitely check out zoneofgenius.com. Do our best, and I think we're doing better and better to help you live a life fulfilled. I'm here with a guest today, hopefully a new friend, and that is Matt. Wait for it, Matt Ostanik. Did I get that right? I got it. Matt Ostanik. Thank you. Who's going to talk to us a bit about his journey and who he is. But Matt, why don't you right at the top just give us a encapsulation of who you are today, and before we dive into more, but who you are today, introduce yourself, I guess is the English way to say that. Welcome, Matt.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you, Ramon. I'm really excited to be here with you today. Thanks so much for the invitation to be here. Also, been looking forward to this conversation. You said my name perfectly. I'm Matt Ostanik. I'm the founder and CEO of a startup called Grateful. Grateful is a platform for socially good companies to give to charities that their customers and employees care about. I spend most of my time talking about what it means to be socially good and why that matters to business and entrepreneurs today. Thank you again for the invitation to be here with you.
Oh, you're welcome. And just, I guess I want to hear more about you, but how does it work? I'm just curious, the short of it, how does it work, the platform itself? I shouldn't jump into the technical details, but I'm a little curious, how does it work?
Yeah, so Grateful is an online platform, facilitates grateful giving. As I mentioned, socially good companies use it primarily with their customers and their clients. And so you set up Grateful to automatically give donations to um, charities that your customers care about, their favorite charities. So typically how companies use it would be when a customer makes a purchase from them or completes a project or reaches some other milestone that the business donates a certain dollar amount. Could be a fixed dollar amount, could be a percent, 0.5%, 1%, 2%. And that customer then gets to pick from a database of charities who gets to receive those dollars. And our database has all 2 million US 501c3 charities in it. So for example, we work with a gym and fitness chain based out of Florida where they use it where their members get to donate 1% of their membership fees each month to their favorite charities. And I should mention from that, it's a great way to support thousands of local charities, but businesses grow from it. So what we see is that the customers that participate in giving programs like that actually end up spending on average 17% more with your business. So it literally pays for itself. It's a win-win because you're supporting great charities, great nonprofits doing amazing work in communities around the country, but you're also paying for yourself and growing your revenue for the business as well.
I love it. And how does the growing the revenue start? Is there some profit model back to the business, or just because doing the greater good? Explain that part of it. How does my business grow by me enabling my employees to donate? Talk about that.
Yeah, so we find that businesses participate in grateful giving because it fits their values. They want to be
Sure.
charitable, or oftentimes they already are being charitable in other ways. But the data we've seen from the customers we work with so far is the customers that love it, they participate in it, they're more loyal to you, they
Mm,
spend more with you. It's also a marketing tool. And again, a lot of businesses don't necessarily jump into it just from the marketing
yep.
angle. They're jumping in because it's a fit with their generosity values, but it is a marketing tool and it drives more revenue for your business as a result of that. Attracting new customers, keeping customers, getting those customers to spend more. And again, the data we've had so far is those customers that participate end up spending 17% more with your business on average, which more than pays for the cost of doing a 1% charitable donation, for
Yeah.
example.
No, I love that. I love that. And can you pick a pool in that and say, my company chooses these five and we're working with you to do it next day? I could add a second or third one, or is it employee led, or can it be any mix you choose?
It can be any mix you choose. What we usually recommend is we have a database of all US
Mm-hmm.
501c3s and allowing, particularly when you're using it with customers, to allow your customers to pick any charity from that database, gives them the most flexibility to pick things that are close to their heart. But companies can also set up preferred nonprofit lists and suggestions. So they could have that pool of five and say, here's five things that my business really cares about. And we would encourage you to take a look at. We find that half or more people will follow those suggestions if you put them out, though but you still give people the option to pick something else on their own if they would like to as well.
Got it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So let's go backwards. I got caught up
Yes,
into
we
it, but
jumped into that pretty quickly here. I appreciate the chance to talk more about
I'm
Grateful.
glad we
Yes.
did. It flowed. As I said, it's a conversation. But talk about yourself, Matt, a bit. Where were you X years ago, which led you to this? I'd love to hear however far back you want to go. Not like 2 or 3 years old. You can if it's relevant, but talk to us about the journey. Feel free to take your time of what led you here and why maybe that's a passion for you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I think I was a pretty boring kid. So I don't think I'll go back to the 2 or 3 year old mark. I'm sure my parents would say I was cute, but we'll fast forward to adult life
All
as
right.
well. My background's as an entrepreneur. I'm a serial tech entrepreneur. Grateful is actually my fourth startup, and I'll
Good for
tell you
you.
real briefly how I got started with the entrepreneurial journey. I actually went to school for architecture.
Mhm.
My goal when I was a kid was to design buildings for a living. I just thought that was so cool, and I love drawing and love the idea of kind of shaping the physical space around you. Went to architecture school, worked at an architecture firm, actually got licensed as an architect as well. And while I was working at this firm, I came up with an idea to create a software tool for architects and contractors. I've always been technology friendly, but I had an idea for something that would help our firm work better. And I ended up leaving full time work as an architect to go focus on growing that as a startup. I told my wife at the time that I was going to do that for 3 years and go back to being an architect.
Of course you
What?
did. Of
Yeah,
course. I've
and
heard
that
that one
was
before.
exactly. That was 16, 17 years ago now. I found I love creating things. It's just fun to
Yes.
brainstorm, come up with new ideas, figure out how to turn those ideas into reality and evolve them and grow them. And I found out that's what I'm good at and I enjoy as well. So I created this software product for architects, built a really nice business around that, hired 100 plus employees for it, grew it to $10 million plus in revenue and software recurring revenue, sold it to a larger company.
Good for
That
you.
larger company went public while I worked there, and then that larger company ended up getting acquired by Oracle. So my first product is actually part of Oracle's construction software division today, which is kind of cool talking points. I haven't had any
Yes.
involvement with it for years, but a great outcome for that particular business. I've started a consulting firm and another software company after that, and then a couple years ago, to fast forward, not to make the story too long, but I was
Take your
really
time.
interested in starting something new, and I've always been interested in charitable giving. I just feel like all of us in society in general, I think, are called to give and support in any way that we possibly can, particularly as an entrepreneur that's had a little bit of success. I feel like I owe that to our community and our country to be able to give back as well. And I was thinking about how I could use technology skills that I've got to particularly help charities that are in need. I could use additional help that are addressing some of the biggest, most pressing problems in our country today as well. That's what led down the path of actually creating Grateful as a software tool. I could go out and donate personally, and I do that as well. But I really viewed it as more of a charitable amplifier, if that makes sense. Starting a
Mhm.
business in this space is a way to amplify the impact that I'm having. And honestly, that's how I describe it to people that use Grateful, our customers and users and investors and supporters today. It's a way to amplify their efforts as well, if that makes sense. But like any startup, Grateful's it's a journey of discovery, right? You throw something out there in the market, you see how people respond to it, and you keep building and iterating and improving on that as well. So even though I've been working on Grateful for 3 years now, it's still a relatively new thing and still evolving in that process and working to get the word out there as well. So that's even more long-winded than I intended, but hopefully walks you through the journey a little bit there. I appreciate you asking.
You have 4.5 more minutes. No problem. Go ahead if you want to, if you need more time. No, I love that. And I'm curious, as you're building Grateful, is there any difference in the sales process? And I'm sure some of the fundamentals are always the same. Who's the customer? Are you listening? All this, but you and or your team, difference in the sales process with Grateful than selling this coffee cup to Kmart at 10,000 units versus selling software to one architect firms. Any difference in Grateful because you have to sell, there's money to be made somewhere in it versus that. But it seems like it's like Tom's shoes. Like, okay, if you don't want to save kids, no problem. We'll go to the next, person. Talk about that a bit if you understand the question.
Yes, I do understand it. I think that probably selling what we're doing is not particularly hard because
Mm,
there's so many people that care deeply about giving, and there's so many charitable people and charitable businesses
yes.
already out there as well. So it's not hard to find that audience. The thing that's tough with it, or that has been a learning lesson with all my past businesses, actually, has been when you're selling something that people aren't shopping for at the moment, right? If you hold up your
Mm,
coffee mug, I've got mine
yes,
right here as
yes,
well,
yes.
right? It's like, okay, I'm either in the market for a coffee mug or not. I either
Got it.
need a new one because mine's broken, or I'm tired or bored of it, or something else, or I'm not. And it's more of a commodity type of item as well from a price point
Right.
standpoint. But there's an established market, like people know they need coffee mugs. What we're offering with Grateful Giving, the charitable giving programs for customers, like that's a relatively new concept for people, right? There's actually a really big company that does that really well. Their name is Amazon. I don't
Hmm.
know if you're familiar with their
Yep.
program, but they have a
I am.
program called Amazon Smile, where you sign up for it, you pick your favorite charity, and they'll donate a 0.5% of your Amazon purchases. They've been doing that for years. They have millions of people signed up for that, and they've raised hundreds of millions of dollars for charity. But they're an outlier. Like there's other companies that do that type of thing manually, but there's not, most companies don't have the resources to build a tech platform to do that like Amazon does. But most businesses aren't out there shopping for that particular solution, even with that example in the market as well. So when you're selling something that's brand new, there's an adoption curve for finding folks that are willing to be early adopters or innovators and try something new. There's a particular audience of people that love doing that love being the first in line or the first 5 people in line for something new. But it's a special group. It's not everybody, right? Most normal people kind of wait till things are a little more adopted before they're willing to jump in. And honestly, when I look back on my career, all the companies I've started, for better or worse, tend to create products that are a little bit ahead of what people are actually shopping for, even selling back to architects in the day.
Yeah.
Now, today, the type of software I built years ago is really common. Like there's a bunch of competitors, a bunch of options for that. But when I was starting that, it was like a pretty new thing. People weren't used to that. And so there's a specialness that goes into the sales process when you're trying to sell something that people don't know they're actually looking for at the moment. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. I love that. And I'm curious, by the way, for Grateful, is there a fee that companies pay depending on a variety of stipulations, and or is it just percentage of donations? How does that work?
Yeah, so we don't take any percent out of the donations. Instead, we charge a subscription fee
Got
for
it.
companies that use it. The subscription fee scales based on the size of the
Yep.
business, but typically that's a marketing expense, or if they're using it internally with their employees, it'd be an HR expense to pay that subscription fee.
Yep.
But companies really like that because then it's very predictable, it's budgetable, and 100% of the charitable dollars go to the charities. Then there's not a lot of appetite. There certainly are platforms that take money out of the charitable donations.
Sure.
But in general, there's not a lot of appetite for that from what I've seen. So our approach makes it way simpler.
I love it. I love it. And so I guess also in phase one, as you're doing this, is that this can be, as it were, sold, but offered to companies that already have a heart for it. I'm guessing it could be wrong. Phase one, you're not trying to reinvent the wheel. It's, these are purpose-driven businesses, as people sometimes use, and they already want to give or they're giving. Let's make it easier for them. That could be phase one, in fact, of this platform. Does that make sense? Or maybe I'm off base?
No, that is correct. That's what we look for. We look for companies that already have a heart, as many do. They're
Yep.
already being charitable. The most common thing we see from companies, there's a lot of companies that are very charitably minded, and they donate to charities that the company picks, and that's completely fine. That's a great start. They're supporting great charities from doing that. We've actually, not to put in another plug, but we launched a new website this past summer called sociallygoodcompanies.org.
Okay.
And it's owned and run by Grateful, but sociallygoodcompanies.org. And it really is a directory or listing of companies that believe in social good. And we're defining social good as being charitable, as giving to others in need, to nonprofits that are helping people in need. That's really the definition around it. And on there, we allow companies to create profiles. We've actually created a lot of profiles for companies just based on publicly available info. And then we reach out to them and say, hey, would you be willing to update this with your information? Or tell us if this is something you're not interested in or doesn't fit with your values as well. But as part of that, we ask companies to kind of talk about what they're doing for social good and charitable giving. And there's really 4 parts to it. And sorry, I'm giving you a long-winded
No, I love
answer
it. Please, I'm taking
your
notes.
question, but kind of the 4 things that we break down when you're
I love
thinking
it.
about social good and giving. So one is, do you believe in it as a company? Like, is it part of your values or not, right? Is generosity, is giving back, is that part of your values? And of course, most companies would say, yes, it is, right? But not everybody, and it doesn't have to be. But so one is it part of your values? Do you believe in it? 2 is, do you do any sort of company-driven charitable giving? And that would be exactly what you were talking about, companies that are already picking something to give to. It could be one thing, could be multiple things, could be something the owner of the company picked, could be they set up a committee of some employees to pick something to give to. Any of those approaches are perfectly fine. There also are companies that not only donate financially, but that do in-kind goods and services donations.
Yep.
And there's a lot of companies that offer discounts to nonprofits. Doesn't matter what business you're in, but whatever you sell, if you're a coffee mug company, then, maybe you give a 10% discount for nonprofits that buy from you. I don't know, that type of thing as well. All of those are types of company-driven giving, and that's great. And that is the most common form of social good and charitable giving amongst businesses in the US right now as well. And then so item 1 was, do you believe in it?
Yep.
Item 2 is, do you do company-driven giving? Item 3 is, do you do any sort of employee giving where you're actually giving to charities that your employees pick and that your employees care about? And those can be matching programs. Those can be broader gifting programs where you're giving dollars for every employee to use. Both of those are good options. And then lastly, there's customer giving, which are programs like I was talking about, like Amazon does, and what Grateful allows companies to do really easily with our technology, where you're actually offering to your customers or clients, depending what sort of business you're in. You might use the term client instead of customer, but either way, offering to those people to give to something that they care about and something they support as well. And most companies, as I was mentioning, across those 4 points, most companies say, hey, yeah, we believe in this. A lot of companies say we're already doing some company-driven giving. The employee giving and then the customer giving, like those are less common right now. Those are newer things. Customer giving being the least common one so far. And again, part of the challenge with that is just the technology hasn't been there, right? If you're a small business and you've got 5 customers, 10 customers, you can go do a customer giving program manually. You can call each of your customers and say, hey, what do you care about? I'd like to make a donation to each of them. That's easy to do. But if you've got 20 customers, 50, 100, 1,000, 10,000, like it's impossible to do it manually. That's where Grateful steps in to provide the technology to make that so much easier. New concept. People aren't shopping for it. So we're really looking for innovators and early adopters, but I'm absolutely confident that, 10 years from now, people are going to say, gosh, like this is just a thing that everybody does. Like, why wouldn't you do it? It's a no-brainer. It just takes some time to develop the market and get the word out there, if that makes sense.
No, for sure. And so just remind me again, this is around this, how does this work? Meaning I get it that I'm the customer then of Matt. I can donate to whoever I want on my own. It's nothing to do with Matt, nothing to do with Grateful. But now I'm coming to Matt to shop for plants. On your site, you'll say, hey, yeah, walk me through that. Just give me a scenario of how Grateful would work then with, let's not use you because I get too confusing, but you know what I mean?
In your hypothetical plant store, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
So so our software integrates with thousands of other platforms.
Okay.
So we've got across the board integration. So we would connect with whatever your plant store is running on, right? So you've got a nice WooCommerce or Shopify store, or whatever you're using that you're selling your plants on, that we would connect with there when one of the plant store customers makes a purchase. What we find works best from a marketing standpoint is to put some language on your site to describe what you're offering, right? So you might say, or the plant store, maybe it's not you, the hypothetical plant store owner might say, we're going to donate 1% of all purchases to your favorite charity.
Got it.
Mr. and Mrs. Customer. Or you could do fixed dollar amounts. We work with some companies where they say, hey, if you buy $20 or more of plants, we'll donate $2 to your favorite charity. And so the idea is after you make the purchase, then you get an email from Grateful with a link to redeem that to use those dollars. You click on the link, you open up the Grateful website. It's very quick and easy. And you can pick one or more charities to send those dollars to as well. So the company you bought from is paying for it. But you as a individual donor, you can choose to set up a profile, which is free, and pick multiple favorite charities and have it set up. So anytime you shop at additional businesses that are participating in Grateful, it's all ready to go. And those dollars can automatically go to the charities that you pre-selected as well. It's an amplifier effect because those are probably things you already give to personally, but it makes it super easy to raise additional dollars for them over time.
No,
is that explanation more clear?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I mean, going back to which I'm getting very tired of now, our coffee cup example, move from plants, is that, you have 2 companies selling 2 coffee cups. And one says on there, I'm just tracking with you, repeating it as a marketing reason, which is no shame in that. We're in business to make money. And one company says, you buying our coffee cups, we donate to XYZ causes or pick your own. And one says nothing, make it simple. What I'm hearing you say is I'll probably go for this, especially if I'm purpose-driven consumer, purpose-driven business. It makes the world a better place, which we're trying to do here, going back to Zone of Genius. Am I echoing, tracking kind of at a high level what you were saying? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And so some other stats we've seen on it, we've surveyed people about this. Not everybody cares about giving, right? But in the US, 160 million people each year donate to charity. So it's not everybody, but that's a lot of people. And when you survey that audience, the people that already give, and ask them, if you've got company A, company B, and you're thinking about buying a plant or a coffee mug or anything else from both of them, and one of them is willing to give to one of your favorite charities as part of their commitment to you, which one are you going to pick? 91% of the time, people say, I'm going to pick the one that's going to give to something that I care about. So it's a significant differentiator for companies that want and choose to use it that way at really no additional cost to them. Because as I mentioned, that increased customer spend and the marketing benefit, it pays for the Grateful subscription fees. It pays for the extra donations. Like it's just win-win all around on that, if that makes sense.
It does for sure. And I think one thing I don't like, I will say, Matt, in my local supermarket here, who remain nameless because they're good people and they have the national anthem playing in their foyer and all that. So I'll leave them alone. I will not throw them under the bus. But And I'm sure you've seen this because it's your business. You probably researched all this. I don't like the ones that say, hey, it costs $4.99 for your sandwich. We can make it $6 if you want, and we'll give that money to them. Why don't you tell me it's $4.99 and you'll do it? Meaning your version of the way you do it, Matt. I don't like the ones where you paid $7 for the bottle of water. We can add $3 to your bill, and you get what I mean? I get what their point is. It's still donating. I'm sure it works some percentage, but it feels a little better. I already spent $75 on my meal, and you're going to donate X percent to the charity. I can say yes to that easy, but I paid $75 for the meal, and now you're going to say I can make it $80, and you'll come on. I don't know about that.
There are lots of, it's very common. Supermarkets where I'm at, I mean, over the place as well. Nothing wrong with that. I like the ones that do the roundup because those are a little bit easier. So instead of, in your example, it'd only be a penny, but if you paid well, I don't know, there's many meals you can get for $4.25, but if you
just like the idea
$7.25 for your meal, it rounds up to $8. That just feels better.
Of them doing it though. I mean, I like your version of it. That's what I mean.
Well, what would be really cool, and by the way, we don't have any supermarket customers yet, but that certainly is on my dream wish list. Get one of them to pilot it, because I'm absolutely certain it would be phenomenal results from the behavior we've seen with other types of customers as well, right? But what if they said, hey, we'll match it, we're going to give, you can add some, but we're going to give out part of that as well. Like, I just think that would be much more powerful. And instead of to this, certain charity that we've pre-selected and is your only choice, you can either give to that or you can pick something else on your own. And a lot of people would still just go with what they picked. But if you had the flexibility to pick something else on your own. And I should tell you this, I didn't mention this earlier, sorry, but one of the things we do in our platform, totally optional, but if you shop at that plant store or the supermarket or the coffee mug store and and they offer that gift and you give it to something, you have the option in the platform to send them a thank you message afterwards. And you don't have to take time to do that if you don't want to, but we give people an option to give a thank you and to explain why they picked the charity that they chose to give to. And you just get such incredible personal stories on it. Like, honestly, it brings tears to my eyes when I read some of them for the first time as well. But about why people care about different types of charities. One person wrote, hey, they picked a charity because they have a family member who's a lifelong alcoholic and they wanted to give to a charity that helps with alcoholism. Another person wrote about giving to an animal shelter that takes care of terriers in particular, because his wife had passed away and she loved terriers and loved that animal shelter. So he did it in memory of her. And another one, I mean, this one brought tears to my eyes when I first read it, was a woman saying she wanted to donate. She picked a local children's hospital because her granddaughter had passed away at that children's hospital. And she'll always remember how helpful that children's hospital was when she was fighting her illness and how much that matters to her. Like, you really get these deeply riveting personal connections that, are very personal to those people. But as a business, you can help support that and tie into that and say, yeah, we're willing to give to something, whatever it is in your life that you care about. And it just deepens that brand connection as well. From again, people do it because it's the right thing to do. But from a brand marketing standpoint, from an emotional connectivity standpoint, it just really strengthens your company's relationship with your customers when you offer that type of thing, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense, Matt. And I think that this is the whole purpose, I think, of business. One purpose, meaning it's a business is to make a profit. I have no shame in that. Make money, no shame in that. And let's make the world a better place. You just said the poor you always have with you. Doesn't have to be the poor, but if I can use my business, and I know we're in simpatico here, use my business to help make the world a better place, this is beautiful. And then I'm hiring people, whether I have 100 people or 5 freelancers. Same concept, meaning I'm helping someone else through my business. Now they can enrich others, and the domino effect of gratefulness, of benefiting the world goes on. So, brother, I'm tracking with you here. And I think that this is what excites me just about business, that I tell my team, what's your dream? What's your vision? We're going way beyond it, but like Dream Manager and things like this. This is business. We can sell our products at a premium, or Seth Godin says, if you're a small business, don't try to compete against the big box, sell it at a high price. So at a high premium, and then you can live the life you want, take care of your family, your community. And with that, give to others and whatever that means to you, time or money. But that's what excited me about interviewing you today, Matt.
Well, and I love how you say some of that. I love the Dream Manager comment as well. But I was actually going to ask you about this at some point if it came up in the conversation. It just did. But you talked to entrepreneurs. You're an entrepreneur, a phenomenal entrepreneur, but you talk to entrepreneurs all the time about building businesses as well. Was curious for your observations on this. My observation has been that there's 3 main reasons that people start businesses. And I know these have been personal motivators for me too. But one of them is they want control of some kind, right? They want to be able to do the quality of work they want, or control their schedule, or direct their efforts. Like, it's a control issue. Being able to have freedom would be another term to put around that, both freedom and control. Another reason would be to make money, right? To be economically successful, which can
Mhm.
mean there's lots of different definitions of what that means, but to be able to make the income they need to live the life that they want as well.
Absolutely.
But the third main reason that seems to come up a lot that I've seen is making a difference. And I love how you just said it, helping others, right? Like I feel like maybe not every entrepreneur has that. Sometimes it's just about money and freedom. But so many of us, we do the things we do because we want to help others. And there's lots of ways to help others, with the services you provide, the things you sell as well. But this is another extension of that also. And I guess does that match with what I feel like that your comments kind of fit exactly with how I would have observed that anyway? Does that match with kind of what you see from other guests you talked about why they do what they do?
I echo 100%. Money is a part of it somewhere, but
Yeah.
oftentimes it's not the first. I think the freedom for
Yeah.
myself, again, you've had been in high tech growth startups. For me, it's been smaller
Yeah.
companies, but the
Yeah.
principle's the same. Is that for me, Matt? I recall, and again, I'm grateful for those who are working for companies, for our companies. We need them. Everybody's different. My daughter,
Hmm.
unashamedly, Dad, I do not want to be an entrepreneur like you. I've lived in your house for years. I don't want it. I want to go to work, sit in the proverbial cubicle, be with people, talk to Mary. How was the game? Oh, it's Monday. Sit there. And Matt tells me, Charity, I'll pay you every 2 weeks as long as you do whatever you're doing and come back home. I said, great. My son, on
Yeah.
the other hand, totally different. So kudos to all. But point being, yes, Matt, for me, and I'm sure for you, because you just said it, the freedom. I just love the freedom to fail as big as I want or succeed as big as I want. So yes. And of recent
Hmm.
date, I wasn't so purposeful about it, Matt, but I'm much
Hmm.
getting more into generational wealth and things like this. Again, whatever wealth may
Hmm.
mean to me and you and whoever's
Hmm.
listening, but just, let me do something a bit bigger than regular to provide for
Yeah.
my nieces and nephews and others. And yes, Matt, I can't wait. Me and my wife already give and donate, but I
Hmm.
want to make what I'm giving in 10 years or next year or 3 years chump change compared to what I've done. So I'm saying it for Mo, not anybody else, but
Yeah.
like, I want to say, you
Yeah.
know what? I got you. Rent's taken care of because there's those
Yeah.
who always need that in a good way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. You and I are 100% aligned on that. I love the words you use around it
indeed.
as
No,
well.
thank you,
Well
man.
said.
No, for sure. But Matt, one more time, give us your full name of your company, how people can best reach you. And I don't mean directly per se, but is it LinkedIn or should they just go to the website? Talk to us a bit more as we get ready to close out this segment, which has been so good.
Yeah. So Matt Ostanik, founder of Grateful. You can definitely find me on LinkedIn. Love to connect with folks there. But the best way to learn more about Grateful is go to our website. And it's actually begrateful.org, begrateful.org is our main website. I also mentioned a secondary site we have called sociallygoodcompanies.org, which is just a way to look up companies that are doing social good and believe in this type of charitable giving or all types of charitable giving as well. So all of those are great ways to stay in touch.
Matt, I appreciate it. Again, everybody, I'm Ramon Ray, publisher of zoneofgenius.com and other platforms as well. But thanks for taking the time to listen to us. And there's only one thing I want you to do. One thing. Just grow your business so we can live life fulfilled. That's it. So we can live life fulfilled. Have a beautiful day. And thanks for joining me and Matt. And don't forget to go to, what's the website again, Matt?
Be grateful, begrateful.org.
Awesome. Thanks so much.